Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Up the Guts podcast. Joining as always is your host, Trent Yelton, and I'm joined by a special guest fresh off a trip from Thailand. Got Robbie Hamilton here. How are you, Robbie?
Yeah, I'm well, thanks, mate. And glad to be back in Melbourne. It's a bit of a change from Thailand, but yeah, really happy to be home. Feeling good.
How's the, first of all, you've been back probably a week, you want to say now?
Probably. I got back on Saturday, the 26th of November. Oh, sorry, the 26th of October. I actually decided to come back early because a few of my friends had their first Muay Thai fights coming up. So I just thought it'd be a good opportunity to be there to support them.
Yep. And did you get any jet lag over there on the way back or not?
Not really. I managed to sleep through my first flight. It was a 9-hour flight, and normally I'm pretty restless on the flight. So pretty happy with the results when I got back to Melbourne. I wasn't as tired as what I thought I would be.
What's normally happens when you're restless? What do you normally a person who gets up a lot, or what's the go when you're on a plane?
Well, I normally can't get comfortable. I've got a lot of stretches to do at the moment. We'll reach on that a little bit later on in the podcast, but yeah, I'm someone that normally can't sit still and settle down with hyperactive behaviour as a kid. Makes it a bit hard to sit still.
What was different this time, do you think?
Well, I actually stopped doing something that was a vice for a long time, and I stopped smoking marijuana. A lot of people talk about it being a benefit for health, but I'm actually at the point in my life where it's not benefiting me anymore, and it's time to kick things that aren't suiting your purpose, in my opinion.
So what was it what you were feeling when you were doing it? Because you said, I know you mentioned you used to do it to go to sleep.
Yeah, well, so when I was younger, I obviously made a lot of silly decisions, and a lot of silly decisions left me with insomnia, and it's been very hard to sleep over the years. So once I started smoking marijuana, I realized I could sleep a lot better, and yeah, I just sort of used it to help sleep and take the edge off. Like people say, it takes the edge off, but all it does is put a Band-Aid on things, in my opinion.
Yeah, and how have you felt? What was the reason you wanted to stop, and how have you felt since stopping?
The reason I wanted to stop was because I focus a lot on Muay Thai. Now that I'm a little bit older in life, I feel like the gym doesn't really align with me and my purpose. I still go, obviously, for a little bit of fitness, but Muay Thai is something that I'm really serious about. And stopping gave me the courage to continue to get better at the sport that I love.
And have you used to take it too fast? How have you been sleeping without taking it before?
Absolutely horrible.
Yep. How many hours are we talking, do you think?
So when I was in Thailand, I decided to stop just before I left, and for 7 days straight, I didn't sleep. It's really hard because for one country in the world that it's actually legal, it's Thailand. And it would have been quite easy for me to go down to the dispensary, which is basically the laundromat, and get a joint or something to help me sleep. I decided not to do that. I decided to push through, and well, I'm still sleeping pretty crap, but it'll get better.
Let's talk about a bit of you growing up. What were you like growing up? And because you are now 32?
Yep, 30 now. 30? So honestly, to be honest with you, Trent, I didn't think I'd make it here. A lot of people didn't think I'd make it here either. And I just wanted to prove everybody wrong. People were very quick to judge just from some silly decisions that I'd made when I was younger. I grew up without a father, and there wasn't much guidance in my life from a young age. My granddad, he was my role model. He was the person that I would go to ask a lot of questions that I had, and he could only answer them so well, not being the father and not being with me every single day. Long story short is I never had anybody to teach me how to shave. It's just sort of something that I had to learn how to do along the way.
Yeah. And growing up, when was the type of times that you realised this was having a bit more of an impact on you and people started judging you? Are we talking primary school even, or are we talking high school?
So around the age of 16, I started to realise that my life was heading in a direction that I didn't like it to go in. So I started to take pretty heavy drugs to blanket the way that I was feeling. It would have been about 7 to 8 years down the track that I'd realised once I was laying in the middle of a primary school oval that I'd been making the wrong decisions for the last 8 years. So at the end of the day, it's all about admitting that you have a problem and being willing to accept help.
Do you think, and tell us if it gets too deep, do you think you were trying to blanket a lot of your stuff doing that as well?
100%. Growing up without a father, I didn't really have anybody to kick the football with. There was nobody at my graduation, a male role model that wasn't my grandpa. Later on in life, I found out that my grandpa wasn't really my grandpa. It was more of a step parent. So things got a little bit crazy when I hit the age of 18. I just sort of went off the rails a lot more, and it was definitely a blanket.
And that obviously that 18, you can more go out now, and I imagine you were probably going out a bit more.
Definitely. I started to go out. I started to dabble in with heavier people, heavier drugs, make dumb decisions, and not really care. Like, it was just full steam ahead with no end in sight for myself. So like I said, I didn't think I'd make it to 30, but here we are.
And obviously you say you didn't think you'd make it to 30 and you made a decision. You told me just before. What was your decision you've decided to do?
My decision was to do things for the better and not for the worse. And in saying that, I met my girlfriend of 9 years. Since then, we've bought a house together. I moved in with her parents for 4 years, and I was obviously put under a lot of pressure to make sure that I wasn't coming home on drugs. Otherwise, I would have nowhere to stay. So at the end of the day, nobody was going to do it for me. So I made the decision to grow up and do it myself.
Mm-hmm. So then obviously you made a decision, and now are you willing to describe what you're willing to do for that 31 yet? Or is that still a bit?
So I made a decision to give up the heavy drugs. I literally threw everybody in the bin, basically. It's easier said than done, but I actually cut every single person that I knew off when I met my partner. I made a few irrational decisions that led to some discomfort in our relationship. I'm not going to touch on those because I just prefer to not put them out there.
Yep.
But it was up to me, and like I said, nobody was going to do it, so I made that decision to move forward with my life.
And how did you feel when you made those decisions?
Well, I started to focus on the gym. I was still going out clubbing, but I would come home and go to the gym. So I was still trying to blanket a little bit of the feelings that I had, whether it be being depressed, being suicidal. I was still looking for some sort of a blanket when it came to the party drugs. And then I realized that wasn't helping me. The more I got into fitness, the less weight that I was going to keep gaining if I continued down that path. So I decided to stop it all and start to focus on the gym for a bit.
Where does Muay Thai come into all this?
So I smoked cigarettes from the age 13. I was going to the gym. I'd have my pre-workout. I'd have a cigarette. I'd do a hectic workout. I would finish up my workout and have my protein shake and wash it down with a cigarette.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up as a tradie because I never knew anything other than being a tradie. My parents always said to me, just get a trade and you'll be set for life. But what happens if you have an injury?
Yep. So then obviously Muay Thai comes in now. When do you fall in love with this?
So I started Muay Thai to get a lot closer with my sister and her partner. It was just something that I missed out on when I was a lot younger because I was always out with my friends and not really spending time with my family. Once I started to lose some loved ones, and it really started to get to me and realize I needed to be there for other people as well as myself. Muay Thai, the fire grew inside of me, and it made me feel like I could give up the vice that was the hardest to kick out of everything, to be honest with you, Trent.
Yeah, and how did you feel when you were doing it? What do you think made you fall in love with it?
Well, growing up without a father and growing up in a family with two sisters and a mum, I always felt like I had to put the brave face on. So finding something that made me have a fire inside made me feel like I could protect myself. Even if I didn't have to, I just knew that I could have the knowledge and the skills there to be able to protect my family.
Yep. And then when does a situation come in where you go, geez, I'm actually pretty good at this and I want to start going a bit more all in and doing competitions and stuff like that?
Okay, so it would have started maybe about 3.5 years ago. I reckon I started to get serious into Muay Thai. I dropped the gym, and it was just because I just never felt the way that I did when I was hitting things and stuff like that. It was more of a release that I didn't need drugs for. And I just wish that I started it at a way sooner age.
Yep. And then so you fell in love with Muay Thai, and you come into it and you start doing competitions. How did you start off? Like, were you good from the get-go, or was it a long learning curve?
Well, it's been a long learning curve. Like I said before, I smoked weed for the last 6 years, and now that I'm starting to get a lot more serious and I see that I actually have a purpose in sport rather than just doing it to stay fit, competitions are definitely on the what's the word I'm looking for? Agenda. That's the word. So I'm looking at doing a fight in Thailand next year. I have just gotten back from Thailand and did some...
'Cause that's their main sport over there, isn't it?
It's very crazy. So in Thailand, Muay Thai is very well respected. If you do Muay Thai in Thailand, you're very well respected. One, you stay out of trouble. All the juveniles sort of have something to do, and they stay away from the people that know how to hurt them.
Yep.
It stops kids from steering down a bad path, like what I've just spoken about previously. And to be honest, it keeps people away from thinking that the government's the bad guy, because they know how to deal with themselves, and they don't really need to call people for help.
Mm-hmm. And then, obviously, what persuaded you, or how did you find out about, geez, there's a lot to learn about going over to Thailand? Because you've been more than once?
Yeah, so I've been to Thailand twice now. Last year, my partner and I went on my first overseas holiday. That kind of explains it. I never thought I was going to make it to 30. I got my passport at 29. Some people might sit there and laugh at that. It's pretty crazy to think that I made it here, but I got my passport, and the first thing I wanted to do was find somewhere to train and just push myself that little bit more.
Just to see how far you can go? Pretty
much. Just like, I love the challenge, and I was actually smoking a lot last year and drinking a lot last year, and Thailand's obviously a party capital, so a lot of people go there just to forget about their life, where last year I went there to just sort of forget a little bit about my life, and I trained a couple of times while I was there, but I kind of regretted the trip by the time I came home.
Yep.
So this time around, I wanted to make sure that the trip was more fulfilling, and I got a lot more trust and technique out of my trainers. And yeah, they actually asked me if I was ready to fight next year. So I'm at that point now where I believe that I can, because I believe in myself finally.
Yep. Now you're going over to Thailand. Let's talk about what a day in the life would be like over in Thailand when you're training over there. Well, and what stuff are you learning, and what stuff are you bringing home?
Okay, so a day in the life of training Muay Thai in Thailand would consist of, you'd get up, you'd go for a run.
What time are we talking normally?
Oh, so the first class in the morning would be at 8 o'clock.
Yep.
The Thai trainers take it very seriously. So if you're late, you're going to be doing a lot more than what you anticipated to do. So if you're not hydrated, good luck getting through the training session.
Mm-hmm.
It would involve 10 minutes of skipping on arrival. We would then do, the Thai trainer would then come up to the group, and we would do a bunch of stretching. We would then do some more warm-up exercises, whether it be walking from one side of the mat to the other side of the mat, doing teeps or doing knees. For those that don't know, a teep is a frontwards kick with your foot, and a knee is obviously lifting your knee up and kneeing to the midsection. So if you can imagine that, it's obviously pretty hard to do first thing in the morning.
Mm-hmm. And then, so that's the first thing. What else goes on after that during the day?
So after that, you'll do 4 rounds or 5 rounds on the heavy bag. They're 3-minute rounds. You get a 30-second to a 1-minute interval break. And then after that, you'll have a sip of water, and then you'll get taken into the ring with the Thai trainers to either practice some sparring or practice some techniques. And yeah, it's good fun.
And then is that your day done after that, or do you continue on after that as well?
So at the end of the session, I would prefer to hit the bag, because like Bruce Lee said, you practice one kick 10,000 times. It's better than practicing 10,000 kicks.
Yep.
Yeah, I said that correctly. I had to think
you had
about
to think
it
about
first.
it. Yep.
Yeah. So basically at the end of class, I'd like to hit the bag and just push myself that little bit further, because now that I have the control to push myself, I actually really enjoy the ride.
And how's the lifestyle over there? I've been to Thailand once as well, but how was the lifestyle over there? Obviously, that's a big sport over there. How are they welcoming to other people coming in and learning from other countries?
So they are extremely welcoming. I was lucky enough to go to a gym where a Melbourne club was training out of at the time. Basically, one of the boys had a fight that night. The Thai trainers welcomed us in. We paid our money for our class for the next 2 weeks, and then they welcomed us to join them at a fight night.
Yep.
Which was at Bangladesh Boxing Stadium, which if you've been to Thailand, you know that it's the tuk-tuks. They drive around and they've got those big signs on the side of the tuk-tuks.
If it's at night, they've got the lights blaring with the music.
Yeah, exactly. It's to be honest, it's where I see my face next year.
Yep.
Yeah, so getting in with the Thai trainers is a big thing. It's a lot about respect, but also I will admit I did go in and we got drunk after my friend fought.
Yep.
And the next morning I went and trained and I paid for it.
Yeah.
I threw up 3 times. I drank too much water to try and wash out the alcohol. And I just sort of realized...
Which made your stomach heavy.
Which made my stomach extremely heavy. All the Thai trainers laughed at me, but it was just about...
Because they knew it was self-inflicted.
100%. They were there as well that night. But the thing is, the Thai culture, they can do things like that. For me to go over there, deal with the humidity, and think that I can drink and train...
So they can back it up.
Very bloody stupid of me, put it that way.
Yes. How was the fight night too? Explain to how many fights are we seeing then? What's the sort of crowd like down there?
So there'd be about probably 1,000 to 5,000 people, which it's not obviously a huge amount, but it's enough. There's people from all around the world supporting their friends, their family. It's just a great atmosphere. It's Bangladesh Stadium's one of the more sort of old school stadiums. So it's got steel benches that you sit on with like these cushions and stuff. And it just gives you that atmosphere of, I don't know, just the purity of the sport and where it's actually come from.
Yep.
In regards to trying to sit in a beautiful stadium and just the facade that's put behind it with a lot of places in the world these days.
Yep. And how did you find, obviously, different cultures over there, the food over there, what type of food are they giving, especially... Are they suggesting for fighters?
So with fighters, you'd obviously be eating your chicken, your rice. You have steamed chicken, steamed rice. You have your broccoli. Make sure that you're hydrated because if you jump in the ring and you're not hydrated, then no offense, but good luck to you.
Because I know when I went over there, and it was probably because we're at a resort too, but when we were at the resort, their breakfast is some of the food's kind of like their lunches.
Yeah, of course.
Type of thing. So like, I was having fried rice for breakfast. Yeah,
so it's a bit different over there because they eat a lot of fruit. So me personally, I haven't ever been a big fruit eater.
Is there a reason for that, or just hasn't tickled it?
To be honest, I think it's because I'm a little bit on the spectrum.
Yep.
And it'd be the texture from a lot of the fruit skins.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I know a lot of people don't like the smell of bananas as well.
Well, so it's funny you say that, Trent, because
you like bananas.
No, I don't like bananas. I can't get past the mushy, the texture.
Yeah. Yep.
I like bananas in a protein shake, but being in
so the actual flavour you don't mind.
The flavour I like, but yeah, it's more the texture. Texture on a lot of things can be a bit of a struggle for me to get down sometimes.
Yeah.
While I was in Thailand, I had a friend over there as well, and he got me to eat passion fruit, pineapple, watermelon, just things that I normally wouldn't eat. And he's like, dude, you don't just have to drink water, you know. You can hydrate yourself with fruit. So coming back from Thailand, I've got pineapples on my bacon, eggs, my plate of bacon and eggs in the morning now. I just feel a lot healthier.
Yeah. What was, obviously you're trying your fruits over there, you normally wouldn't. What was your favourite you brought back?
Pineapple. Yeah. 100%. I've always loved pineapple juice. It's not because it's the whole boys should drink pineapple juice thing. It's just, it's definitely been my choice of taste. Mm-hmm. And now I know why, because I'll eat the pineapple, but I'll suck the juices out as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's the taste that I love.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
Is there any of the foods that they got you to try over there that you definitely wouldn't be bringing back here to try again?
So not this time around, no, because I was focused on my training a lot more, so I didn't want to really upset my stomach. Mm-hmm. The last time I went to Thailand, my auntie actually owns a Thai restaurant in Phuket.
Yep.
While I was there, I tried a lot of different foods. The foods that I tried were I had a lobster for the first time in my life. Normally, I'm not a fan of seafood, but she said, look, it's not even going to taste like seafood by the time that it gets served up to you, so just give it a go. I tried the lobster, and I ended up loving it. I named the lobster Lenny. Yeah, I've got some cool photos of Lenny the lobster. It was a 1.2 kilo lobster.
Yep.
And I sat there and I smashed that thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Was there any ones that you tried that you said, geez, I will not be going back to that?
So the crab omelette.
Yep.
The crab omelette, I tasted it. I enjoyed it at the start, but then I decided against it.
Yep. The aftertaste, was it?
I think it was the texture, to be honest with you. It was like, it's really hard to explain, but the texture was a little bit like an onion.
Mm-hmm.
And an onion's not really something that I was forced to eat as a kid, so it's not something that I really have in my diet as an adult.
Yep.
So it just sort of brought back memories of something that I didn't like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And then obviously you were over there and you came back. Has anything changed since you've come over from learning stuff or routine-wise? Obviously you mentioned pineapple with your egg and bacons. What else has changed coming back over? Because I know you back at work yet?
No, so I'm not back at work. Earlier this year, I was involved in a work accident, and I ended up having 2 bulging discs in my back, L4 and L5. It's been a really hard time to get through. Before I left for Thailand, I felt like I needed the trip. I spoke to Trent before I headed off and a few of my other friends, and they said, this is for you, so you need to go off and stop worrying about everything that's everything that's behind you, and worry about everything that's in front of you.
I feel like the more you would have thought about and worried about your back getting, being sore, the more likely you're going to go over there and injure it more.
100%. I was definitely anxious that I was going to do a lot of damage while I was over there, but I just took the time to slow down in my life. My life's always been a bit of a rush. I used to work in the city as a high access glazier, bending over backwards and lifting stupid amounts of weight for people that didn't appreciate it. Coming back from Thailand has made me realize my potential and my purpose, which is I'm starting a clothing line. And
wearing the shirt right now?
I'm wearing the shirt right now. So the slogan is, I believe everybody deserves to be comfy. The brand is BeeComfee.
Yep. And what was the reason behind that, do you think? Like, how did it just come to you, BeeComfee? What was it?
So
was there like a situation that happened, or a mixture of moments?
So for those following, I am someone who used to really like The Block as a TV show.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Being a tradie, it's a bit of a background in myself. It's something that I could sit there and take the time to watch.
Were you one of those ones who used to watch and used to say, "Jess, I wouldn't mind going on it"?
Yeah, I used to say that with my partner, but then I got to the point of how it was a bit more about reality TV, and it wasn't about the skill set. Like, the people are off site half the time, and when we're on site, we're not allowed off site. So it's a bit of a...
Mind you, if any of them want to come redo any of our houses, we'll take that any day of the week if they look like they do there.
Yeah, 100%. Some of the houses turned out absolutely amazing, and I would have loved to have the opportunity to get onto the block, but I didn't think I was in the right mindset back then. My partner actually asked me if I would be willing to go on the block, and I said, yeah, I'd like to do it, but when I sat down by myself, I thought, I don't think I could be on television for that long. Yeah. But nowadays, I think it'd be something I'd be able to do because I've got a lot more confidence in myself.
Yeah. And then, so what were we on to? What were we discussing? I've lost my track.
We were talking about the business.
Yes. What was the moment? Was there a mixture of moments or something that where you just went, be comfy and it fits? Or was it a brainstorming moment?
So I was always called a fashionista.
Yep.
Whether it be by my friends, whether it be by my family, or whether it be by my mother-in-law, let's say. Would
that be you always kept up with the fashion, or you always liked trying something different?
I just always like to stand out from the crowd because so many people are so worried about what everyone cares about them that I just never really cared.
So you didn't mind being unique?
100%. I've always called myself unique, and I suppose that's where the nickname came from. Mm-hmm. My partner's mum used to always tell me off because when I was living with her after my past, they took me in and took me into their home while I had to start to make better decisions for myself. She was doing my washing.
Yeah.
And she was like, mate, you're like bloody Ronnie off the block. Because for those that watched it, Ronnie would change his T-shirt every time the camera came out. He would have a new T-shirt on.
Yeah.
I get changed about 3 or 4 times a day. It's just the way that I feel. I feel like I need to...
Bit of sweat comes on it, you need to get into a new one.
Not even that. It's more just I walk past and I'm like, nah, this isn't bright enough. Or like I've always been somebody to match my tops with my bottoms. Wear a white hat, white shoes, purple hat, purple shorts.
Yeah.
Like I've just always wanted to stand out a little bit.
Yeah. And then, so did you sit down and brainstorm, or what was it?
So for the name to arise, I was injured. I've got ADHD, so I need to put my focus on something.
Makes 2 of us, brother.
From 12 o'clock at night until 4 o'clock in the morning, I was thinking because I didn't have work that day, and I was like, well, if I can't work, I've got to do something. I'm a mortgage owner in Melbourne, and for those that are in Melbourne would be able to relate. It's a pretty hard time at the moment when it comes to the cost of living. So having a back injury and no way forward, it's been a very stressful time. So I think it's just the honest way that my brain works is I want everybody to be happy. I want everybody to be happy in their own shoes, and whether you're big, small, yellow, brown, green, purple, red and pink, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. If you're happy in yourself, you deserve to be comfy. But being comfy comes with getting uncomfortable. So while I was in Thailand, I actually jumped in some ice baths.
Yeah. That's not something you would normally do over here, or?
Well, it's more something that I hadn't tried before. So my physio... and
was that through, sorry, I cut you off, was that through fear of not fear, but like just going... Geez, I can't do that.
Well, so I'd been to the beach before, and normally if the water got too cold, I'd jump straight out. But it wasn't until I felt the need to activate the HGH in my body, because if people don't know, then cold therapy actually activates the HGH and repairs the soft tissue in the muscles. It's something that I did a bit of research on as I was heading over to Thailand, and it's some advice that I was given in the sauna by a couple of people. They said, hey, mate, you've been in the sauna for a long time. You said you got a back problem, like just talking to people like I'm talking to you right now. Yeah. They said, why don't you go jump in the ice bath? I said, well, because all my treating providers back in Melbourne said not to do it. The reason is because the Western medicine is definitely about being a business, and it's definitely about having a customer for life.
Yeah.
I decided to get uncomfortable and jump in the ice bath for the first time in my life.
How long did you last the first time?
20 seconds.
Yep.
And then
it's better than nothing.
It's better than nothing. But then I told myself, I'm better than this. I can stay in longer. If I learn how to breathe, I can learn how to ground myself. I can be a better human being.
Yep.
I then did 2 minutes. After doing 2 minutes, I did 4 minutes.
Geez, 4 minutes is a decent effort.
Then I did 6.
Jesus.
And then the next day I said, well, I was able to do 2 intervals of 6 minutes. Let's go for 10. So I ended up doing a 40-minute total the next day. So 10
without stopping, or?
So it was
intervals?
More the sauna, the steam room was about 38 to 42 degrees.
Yep.
It's a herbal sauna and steam room over there. And basically I told myself, if I can sit in here for this long, then I reckon I can sit in there for that long as well. So I stayed in for 10 minutes. Mate, it was killer.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like I said earlier on in the podcast, nobody's going to do it for me. So I learned how to breathe, and I learned how to do it myself.
Yeah. And then obviously you're doing all of that. You're still continuing that. How have you found the difference with your body?
So I've come to the realization, while I was in Thailand, I did sound bowl meditation. And if people have done that before, it's all about the out of body experience, that if you do it properly, you can actually exit your body on a natural DMT level. I can't say the word right now because I can't remember it off the top of my tongue. But for those that know what DMT is, it's a release that happens before you die, and it's an out of body experience. So basically, you look down on yourself and you see the life that you've had and the life that you're trying to create. Or you could be lucky enough to see a spirit guide. I was lucky enough to see a spirit guide. I was in constant pain as I was laying on a hard floor with pillows under my knees. And I pushed through. It's all about the out-of-body experience. So it's about letting go of your body and being able to release the tension and everything like that. So basically, being out of my body and looking down at myself but still feeling the pain made me feel like I didn't want to live this painful life anymore.
Yep.
I started to look into a lot more spiritual chakras and things like that. And it all comes down to stress and trauma. So I've learnt that because I didn't visit my trauma when I was at the age where I should have, that's why I ended up with a back problem. So at the end of the day, it's my fault.
Yeah. And you mentioned your partner a lot lately. Where would you be without your partner, do you think?
Oh, mate. Yeah, she's an absolute angel. We obviously had some hard times when I was younger, and she stood by me, and we actually bring each other up. A lot of people said to us when we were younger, "You're the power couple. We want to be like you." We never understood it, but buying a house at 26, there's a reason that people wanted to be like us. So I have a lot of respect, and I'm very grateful for her.
How have you guys found the balance too, do you think? Obviously, you've had challenges along the way, but how have you found the balance?
So my partner's been through a lot of things as well. I'm not going to touch on them because that'd be for her to speak about, not myself.
Yep.
She's had to endure a lot, but the thing is, I've always been that supportive partner for her. And, well, it goes both ways. If I support her, she's going to support me because you got yin and yang, you got black and white, you got good versus evil. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, you stick by the one that loves you and they'll stick by you.
Yeah. And I believe, tell me if you want, did you mention she got on stage bodybuilding-wise? Yes. So what I wanted to ask you, obviously, they go through it. How did you guys or even you go during that prep stage? Because I know it can be hectic.
Oh, yeah.
Talk us through that prep stage and what different moods were happening and what were some of the challenges and what were some of the positives that came out of it? Obviously, the end result is a positive, but what the challenges, because they can be different. They can be moody. They're on less calories. Yeah. They've got to get such and such done.
So it was a very testing process.
How long ago was this, mate?
So I think it was 2018 was the year she competed. Mm-hmm. Not sure if that's the correct year, but it's been in the last 5 years.
Yeah, yeah.
So basically, it was a very testing process for myself. It was a 26-week program that she was on, so a 26-week prep for an I Compete Naturally competition. So basically, there was no peptides involved. It was all about the calories. It was all about the macros. It was all about if we went out for dinner, sorry, babe, I can't eat this. Like, I'm going to have to sit here and eat my chicken, broccoli, and rice.
Yeah.
So that in itself was obviously a little bit of a test that had to be able to not push her to break her routine and keep up on her path that she wanted to keep up on. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the moods were incredible. Like, one day she was happy, the next day she was sad. But the thing is, that's what happens when you're dropping calories and upping calories and dropping them. It's a very stressful process. She ended up jumping up on stage. She became, she got second and third. Yep. And she became a runner-up on the day. She was the only girl that walked on stage with hamstring ties. Yep. But unfortunately, she trained at a different gym, and the gym wasn't really financing the competition, so things didn't go the way that she had anticipated, and she decided to not compete again after that point.
How were you still working out at this point too, and would you guys work out together?
So we would work out together, but then it got to a point where she had to follow her program a lot more closely. So she would work with her personal trainer that she was with. That was her best friend at the time. And yeah, she kind of took the focus off me a little bit. Yep. Being someone with ADHD, obviously, I liked the focus being on me. But,
don't we?
Yeah, don't we all? But the thing is, I just had to learn to take that step back and let her get serious.
Yep.
It's something that she needed to do. It's something that she wanted to do. And I wanted to see her succeed in it. So it was up to me to take that step back.
And how was the day as a whole, the final day, where all the preparation comes into the results?
So the day of the competition, it was at Moonee Valley Racecourse. It was a pretty hectic day. We got picked up in the morning. We all drove out there. There was donuts. There was everything out in the areas where everyone would get ready to where everybody would warm up for the competition. There was donuts. There was lollies. There was chocolates. There was everything because everybody was prepared for after the show.
Yeah.
So that in itself was a test anyway. I couldn't be more proud of her stepping on stage because she put the work in and she definitely showed up to show off.
Yep. Now, let's get in. I know you've got some notes down there. Let's get into a bit of a debate here.
Okay, let's go.
Are you ready? Big Melbourne Storm fan. First of all, I know you want to hear. I know you don't want to talk about it, but grand final. How were you proud? Were you still proud of your boys, the Storm, or?
So I was very proud of the boys. The boys obviously showed up like they anticipated, and we didn't get the result that obviously everybody wanted. But the thing is, you can't win them all, and that's just something that I had to learn to deal with.
And then, obviously, you used to follow footy.
Yeah, so I was a athletic kid when I was younger. I did inter-school sports. I played footy every single day at primary school. I was a St Kilda supporter, and yeah, the 2010 grand final went sour. And to be honest,
for you, maybe for you,
yeah, for me being a St Kilda supporter, I'm pretty sure you're a Collingwood supporter.
Yeah, don't worry. My mum's a St Kilda supporter, and my dad's a Collingwood supporter. So that household, the draw, and then the next week was just hell.
Yeah, so long story short would be I was living in Rosebud at the time, growing up in a broken family. I was always sort of not couch surfing, but hoping that my friends' parents would be there to support me a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I caught the bus from Rosebud down to Keysborough on the first weekend. This was the first game of the final.
Yep.
Turns out it was the third draw in AFL history.
Yep.
The next weekend, the final score was 68-68.
Yeah.
Basically, I was pretty upset at this time. I just spent some time on a bus for about probably 2 hours of transport. For a kid that was 14, that was a pretty hectic travel ride. The next week was deja vu. I got up, I put my Saints gear on, and I went to do the exact same thing. Well, turns out that we lost by a point. Stephen Baker had an opportunity to kick the goal, and he decided to kick a point instead. So Collingwood went away with the win.
Yeah. So then, obviously, we moved on there. What was so rugby? When did you fall? Is it that part of a reason you fell in love with footy, or what's the real reason?
So the reason that I stopped following football in a whole was I seen myself when I was a kid being a football player.
Mm-hmm.
I then seen a few calls that I didn't think were the best calls, and I started to notice that finances were playing a lot in the game.
Yeah.
Whether it be a push in the back for a side push, or whether it be a free kick for something that I played footy, man. Like, I didn't think that it was a free kick back then because I was playing on the weekends and I was watching it after I'd played.
Yeah. And then, were you always a fan of rugby?
No, so I started following rugby once I realised that
footy was getting a bit, we'll say it, softer.
Thank you. So yeah, once I realised that footy was getting
more tightly umpired.
Tightly umpired's a good way to put it because it definitely hasn't got softer. If you look at the way that the boys run these days, they put their bodies on the line just as well as the rugby boys do.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's got a family and they've all got family and kids to go home to, but they still put their bodies on the line. So I can't sit here and say that it had gone softer.
Yeah, yeah.
It was more that I just wasn't happy with the way that it was heading. I didn't see myself playing it in the future. I was always one of them smaller kids that needed to be a little bit rougher just to get through and stuff like that. And if I was running into a big bloke with my shoulder, then there's a reason for it. It's so he didn't clothesline me.
Yeah. And then obviously with the rugby now, what's the big difference? Why is it better than AFL? That's the real question. NRL versus AFL. Why is NRL better?
So I believe that NRL, this is my own personal opinion, I just like it more as a sport. I feel like the atmosphere is absolutely incredible. I've got front row seats down at the Amy Park. I get to interact with the players. I'd always been to St Kilda game days and things like that, but I just never felt I never felt the kid come alive, I guess, when I was at something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Being an adult and having the opportunity to say hello to the players, take photos with them, say hello to Craig Bellamy. He's a great bloke. We've met Billy Slater a couple of times. He's just another good bloke himself. Melbourne Storm players have got their nickname the Goats for a reason.
Yep. See, where I would say is I don't mind NRL. Like, I watch it for State of Origin, all that type of stuff, and I admire, like, how hard it is. They hit hard. But what annoys me sometimes is the consistent stop in play, if that makes sense. So where I think I prefer footy is because it's more free-flowing, which sometimes, even when in footy, when the stopper play starts happening and there's a lot of stoppages, I get annoyed. I'm just like, get the ball moving. So the stop and play and then the tackles and the downs, it really frustrates me sometimes.
So with football, one thing that I really obviously do like, don't get me wrong, I'll still sit there and watch the grand final.
Yeah.
I'll sit there and I'll watch a couple of games a year. If you were to ask me to go to a footy game and watch Saints play Collingwood, mate, I'd be all for it.
Yeah.
So I think it's something we should do in the future.
For sure.
What it all comes down to, though, is the game doesn't really stop that quickly compared to rugby. You've got kick to kick and all that sort of stuff. The ball still flows.
Yeah.
Where when it comes to rugby, you can only throw it behind so many times before the player starts running towards you and you start to put the pressure on, and next thing you know, the game stops again.
Yeah.
So I think it's all about, when it comes to rugby, is I'll watch it for what it is. I don't care who's playing at the end of the day. As long as it's a good game, I enjoy it. Like I said, I enjoyed the grand final. I just wasn't happy with the result.
This is probably a cheeky comment,
Go
but
for your life.
would you tend to agree? I don't think there would be very few NRL players could come and play AFL at a successful level.
I would agree with you on that.
But I feel like there's a few AFL players that could go play NRL.
I think you're on the money with that also.
So it's like a cheeky comment, but I feel like NRL players can't transfer to AFL, but I think AFL people can transfer to NRL.
I think it's because...
Especially the Sydney-based teams.
Well, to be in a sport like AFL and to be in a sport like NRL, I think that the training, all the progression that needs to come into the fitness, the agility, the strength, the conditioning, it's all very similar. But when it comes to playing NRL to AFL, I don't think that it would go the same way.
Yeah.
Meaning, it's all about hitting hard.
Yeah, they're a bit heavier too.
It's all about passing the ball. I mean, so growing up watching AFL, there was Anthony Rocker, there was Fraser Garrick, there was Justin Kazitsky. That would be another thing I'd like to touch on. When Justin Kazitsky and Daniel Giansirakusa, one person ran from one end of the field, the other person ran from the other end of the field, and they collided in the middle. Daniel Giansirakusa was taken off the field with a pretty serious injury, and Justin Kazitsky actually went off the field with a broken neck. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
It was a hip and shoulder incident, but the thing is, the Western Bulldogs got the ball. Justin Kazitsky did not take his eye off the ball on that whole run.
Yeah.
Daniel Giansirakusa turned his eyes and looked at who he was running into.
Yeah.
I got to the point...
See, nowadays that would be gone.
They would be gone, 100%. It would not happen, and I don't think that the free kick was awarded the right way. You could sit here and say it's a biased opinion, but at the end of the day, you just got to watch the footage to see it.
I think it was more accepted back then too. Not accepted, but like it wasn't umpired as strictly as it was now. If that happened now, the report's coming out straight away. They're probably getting at least 4 weeks.
100%. It's like I said, it's all about people learning from their mistakes and learning a lesson when they do the wrong thing. It's the same thing with rugby. You run in there with a shoulder charge, you deserve 6 weeks.
What's their concussion protocol in NRL?
So with the NRL, we actually had an incident with Nelson Asafa Solomona recently. One of our biggest boys is actually 120 kilos.
Jesus.
6'7" is bloody like Goliath, mate. He was involved in an incident, and the incident was the first play of the game for the game leading up to the grand final. He ran into the players Sydney Roosters. They ran forward into the Melbourne Storm. The player from Sydney Roosters ran head-on into Nelson's shoulder. It's almost like they were told to do it.
Yep.
Because they knew that Nelson was going to get taken straight out for the grand final. In saying that, he got a 6-week ban, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
But the rules with the NRL show that there's no if you stuff up, you're not getting a second chance. You can't go in and face your ban the next year. So he actually wasn't allowed to play this year.
Okay, yep. So, because I know AFL, I think it's 12 days now. They have to, but once the concussion is confirmed, it's 12 days. They're not allowed to do anything.
So, in regards to the concussion, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 4 weeks.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, because obviously you got a lot heavier people. You got people that are actually running into each other compared to trying to get around each other. It can be pretty serious. I've known of some people that have gone over to Canada to have to get the CTE scans. And it's a pretty crazy process nowadays. So they'll send you over there rather than have you play the next 2 weeks.
What's next for you now? What's some of the future goals that you would like? What's next?
I would like to make people's lives better, because I believe that the evil in the world's starting to take over, that we need to take a step back, slow down a little bit and focus on ourselves. Whatever makes you happy. It's all about finding your inner flame. On my T-shirt on the back, the first design that I've actually brought out, it's about finding your inner flame. So, yeah, it's not about me. It's about you.
Well, Robbie, it's been a great chatting, mate. Really good. Thank you for coming on again.
Thank you very much for your time.
And as always, guys, make sure you follow us on all our social media platforms, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and tune in for more special guest episodes coming in. Again, Robbie, thank you for your time, and I'll see you guys again next time.